Hi.
What's up?
The sky, the ceiling.
The sky, the ceiling, my blood pressure.
That too. That is up. Blood pressure
hmm
is it's a bad thing to have rise or
Mm.
fall.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
it's one of those things you just want them like Goldilocks. You
go
know,
like
yeah, like this blood pressure's too high. Well, this blood pressure's too low. Oh, but this blood pressure's just right.
oh yes, the porridge analogy. Of course.
Of
Of
porch.
course.
Oh,
Of course.
Jesus. Here we
Well,
go.
welcome to Accelerativ Thrust.
Yeah.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Eric.
And we like to talk about records and underground music. And yeah, we're here. We have arrived, and
Wow.
we celebrated the birth of America 2 days ago. How was your
Yeah.
4th of July?
Good, good. I went to a place called Twin Lakes.
Uh-huh.
My family goes there and does lakey stuff, and been going there for, I don't know, 22, 23 years every 4th of July. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
I'm
it's
more
all right.
interested in this thing called lakey stuff.
Yeah, lakey stuff.
Like so what is involved in lakey stuff?
Oh, well, looking at a lake.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you go on a boat on the lake.
Uh-huh.
Um,
What about one of those what do they call those? Not canoes,
No, canoes is good. Canoes.
but they're kind of like a canoe.
a kayak.
Kayak. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't do any of that. We
Didn't
do
do
that in regular life, non-lake life.
So you do it in your front yard.
Well, I mean, I guess just not 4th of July lake stuff.
Oh, okay.
Very specific things.
You do that more on the 5th of July or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Twin Lakes is pretty cool. I wrote a song about it. You want to hear it?
Wrote a song about it. Let me hear you go.
Let's hear it.
It's a famous song.
Okay. And you
Everyone-
wrote it?
Yeah, everyone loves it. It goes like this. It goes, Twin Lakes where everyone's naked. Twin Lakes were super fun. Twin Lakes, I'm gonna get a blowjob. Twin Lakes were super drunk.
If I'm not sure if that's a real song or not, Eric, or if that's just something that came out of your head. Either way,
No, I've been singing it for about 20 years.
been singing it for 20 years. So
Yeah.
have you decided to ever record it?
I think I just did.
I'm digging it. I'm digging it.
Yeah,
Well,
and it just slightly borrows from "Spill the Wine" by War.
oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, how was your 4th?
Well, I went to a place called Musser Park.
Oh.
It's sort of by like a river. We also didn't go kayaking or anything.
Mhm.
But we did watch some fireworks. We did see lots of fireworks all throughout the town of Muscatine because, in Iowa, I'm not sure how bad it is in Iowa City, but in Muscatine, it's like a war zone for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That fireworks is legalized in Muscatine,
Mhm.
and so bad that there are people like doing drive-bys with fireworks in Muscatine now.
Oh.
Yeah,
Like
they're going.
like at people.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if it's at people or at houses or just the sky, but yeah, they've busted like a couple of people driving by holding those bottle rockets that shoot like
Oh, Roman
like just
candles.
Roman candles. That's it.
Yeah.
Driving by, just letting those off. Like it's just.
Wow.
I mean, it's funny, but it's terrifying also at the same time.
Yeah.
things that should not be.
We'd like to talk about the thing that should not be.
The thing that should
Sorry,
not
we had
be.
to fit a Metallica reference in, right?
Yeah,
This is the Accelerativ Thrust. What else is there though? I feel like I don't want to be a big old downer.
Sorry if I bumped you out.
Oh boy.
So what? So what do you want to do?
So far, so good. So what?
Hello, me. It's me again.
Nice.
It was so hot out that I bet.
How hot was it?
That
Sorry, was that not what I was supposed to do?
yeah, sure. We'll just say that.
How hot was it?
So hot that there were a bunch of bees, and it turned into an attack of the killer bees.
What?
Another Big Four reference.
Wow.
We're trying to get another Big Four reference.
Speaking of hip hop,
yeah, we have a hip
you
hop.
want me to talk about this record?
Yeah, let's talk about your record. Very interesting choice there, Eric.
All right, here we go.
It. Cool.
It's fucking record time. Here comes the song. Derp.
Come on, everybody, it's record time. Derp.
Yeah, so my pick, it is a little different for me, and I don't actually even know how I came across it, but it's awesome. It's by a person called Apathy, and Apathy is, like I said, a fella. His name is actually Chad Bromley, I guess, and he's from Connecticut. I think Dan might be familiar with more of his groups and projects than I am, but he is a member of lots of groups and projects. And I unfortunately haven't heard any of them. This is my introduction. So, Apathy, King of Gods, No Second is the name of the record. Came out this year. I don't know exactly. Like always, I don't know that much about hip hop. So I usually just approach it like from what I do know, which, like I said, isn't much, but also just like what I like about it. And I guess that is the point of a review, right? So I would say this is it feels kind of horror-ish. And I may be way off there, but a lot of the samples seem kind of dark and like kind of scary strings and things. And that's kind of the vibe. I don't know. Maybe I'm way off. But anyway, it's kind of horror-core-ish, super smart. Yeah, thematically, I think, and I don't know what the connection is, but it does seem to be a reoccurring thing with Apathy and the other projects he's in, that there's sort of this like ancient gods, sort of like pharaohs and Egypt kind of stuff. I don't know exactly what the connection is, but so thematically it has a lot to do with like the devil and God and Egypt and magic and all kinds of kind of weird stuff like that, but not to the point that it would alienate a listener or even like seem really out there. It's just kind of like an element that keeps popping up throughout the record. Beyond dense production. Like this stuff is so layered. Like I really think it takes a certain level of genius to be able to hear just 4 random pieces of like music or samples from a movie or whatever and be like, oh yeah, those things will go together really well and put them together. Like my brain doesn't work that way and I wish it did. But yeah, truly amazing production. I'm not sure who produced it, but the scratching on it's amazing as well. But yeah, super playful use of samples. I think it supports the songs. It becomes part of the songs. Sometimes there'll be samples from a record, a different record that will take a whole line in a verse, like complete a rhyme. And that's pretty interesting, I thought. Super, super clever lyrics. Yeah, lots of references. It kind of reminded me of the Beastie Boys in that sense, like it's just simile after simile. Like I'm a blank like a blank. This is a blank like a blank. Everything's like something else. But this one is, like the Beastie Boys usually go on the funny side of that. this one goes into all sorts of everything. Like it really rewards you as the listener for being a weirdo with weird interests. Like the more weird shit you're into and know about, you're going to get out of this record. There's tons of special guests. They're really cool. The one I liked the most, I think his name was, RJ Payne. Really cool delivery, rap style. Like I said, the production to me is really kind of reminiscent of like Gravediggers. Lots of kind of weird horror movie sounding stuff, a lot of strings. But like I said, I don't want that to sound off-putting because overall it really is just kind of I don't want to say upbeat because that's absolutely not correct, but it's not dark either, not necessarily. It just is super enjoyable to listen to. But yeah, they even sample the Gravediggers at one point. It's from 1-800-Suicide at the end when he says something like, "Don't cry.
'Cause we all die."
Something like that. They sampled that "Don't cry" part. Pretty cool. Some other samples that I liked. The guy says some Supreme shit, and then they drop in "Come See About Me." Like they just take that whole sample. But yeah, it was super fun, super cool. Like I said, it rewards you for being a weirdo, and I love music like that. So stuff that it reminded me of: Gravediggers, Cool Keith. I think Apathy's delivery sort of reminded me of RZA, and like as far as the rhymes are constructed, Beastie Boys. But I'm sure there's a million things that this is like that I just don't know about. But yeah, I found it to be super enjoyable. And there's also a instrumental version of this release, which is cool because the music, like I said, is outrageously cool. And yeah, I want to check out the rest of what Apathy has done and his other projects. So what do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I mean, this was straight up when it comes to like, hip hop music, rap music. This was definitely in my wheelhouse. First and foremost, I noticed the production right off the bat, and it reminded me of somebody, and so I couldn't quite put my finger on who it was. So I did do a little bit of research on this record because when it comes to like, hearing like rap records, I kind of am always interested who the producer is. And it was produced by this guy named Stu Bangas. Now, Stu Bangas has produced a lot of different projects that I've listened to. And so as soon as I saw that he was the one behind the board on this, it totally made sense. I definitely can see the horrorcore element that you were talking about. Like you said, pretty dark, scary, dense, beautifully haunting music. I would say it definitely does 100% sort of land on the Gravediggers side of horrorcore. More so than something like, I don't know, Insane Clown Posse or something like that.
Yeah.
But to me, what this was really grimy, raw, East Coast, like backpack, boom bap rap music with just an extremely dark side to it. The next thing that I noticed after the beats kind of set and after the production kind of set the precedent for the record, Apathy's flow and wordplay is absolutely amazing. Now, he's from Connecticut, which is, you don't really hear about a lot of Connecticut rappers. So it still is definitely East Coast, but it sounded pretty New York to me at first. But there's also sort of these other things that I could kind of see how maybe it came from a different place than like New York while still remaining East Coast. Yeah, it's got that raw griminess to it. Like you mentioned, Erik, very dense production. And yeah, the themes and concept, I definitely heard like, it touched on religion. There was even some social issues. Like it did talk about police brutality on one track. And also I heard some stuff, like conspiracy theory type stuff kind of going on. So that is all rooted in sort of like Wu-Tang Clan type stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where you hear, like you were saying, Eric, it rewards you for being like a weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
Wu-Tang Clan, you heard all these references about like martial arts movies and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
there was also a lot of like stuff about government control and things like that. I heard a little bit of that stuff on this record too, but it was never presented in like an absolute way. It was just like kind of like making references. Like there's that
Mm-hmm.
one track called MK Ultra, you know, which is that.
Yeah,
I think at this point, MK Ultra, we know what that is. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's rooted in that East Coast. I guess I don't want to say religious. Maybe religious is not the best way to put it, but spiritual, cosmic, mystical sort of stuff. You know, and that's all over like a lot of East Coast hip hop, especially like when you're talking like the 90s stuff. You know, like Wu-Tang Clan, later Rakim, like when he became a solo artist without Eric B. Yeah, just all kinds of, and I could definitely hear, as far as the flow goes, I could hear that Beastie Boys that you were talking about too. I didn't really catch on to that until after you mentioned it, but yeah, it's definitely there for sure. The guest list, as you mentioned, Eric, is absolutely incredible. Pharoah Monch, Black Thought from The Roots, Esoteric, Self-Titled, Jadakiss. These are all East Coast big names. I mean, and yeah, it's incredible. And then the one that you liked, Eric, RJ.
RJ Payne. He's on the last the Devil's Frequency. The
Yes,
last song. Yeah,
he's on the last track. Now, RJ Payne is actually a battle rapper. I come to find out. So yeah, and that was absolutely fantastic. So basically, with this, now, believe it or not, I actually am not. I'm in the same boat as you, Eric, as far as not being familiar with Apathy's other projects. I've actually never listened to Apathy. He's been a guest on a couple of tracks, and I think I may even have a couple of albums that he's been a guest MC on, but I've never actually listened to a full project. And yeah, this is making me want to go back and check out, some of his other work. Yeah, this record, just kind of based on what I've read about it, sort of seems like the record that Apathy was kind of waiting to make with the guest list. And yeah, it definitely is a pretty exciting release. Lately, hip hop has not really been on my radar, so it was really refreshing to hear, something like this that is definitely, like I said, in my wheelhouse when it comes to this is the kind of stuff that I do like when I do listen to rap music. My favorite track is definitely the opening track, The Kingdom of God. I just love the beat on that. Yeah. Yeah, but the whole thing is just, if you're into East Coast grimy hip hop with the boom bap style, I think you would love this. So, I mean, to me, Wu-Tang Clan. Also, another comparison that I would say, R.A. the Rugged Man, especially the way that Apathy flows. A lot of his cadence and sort of like just the way that he phrases things reminds me of R.A. the Rugged Man. He's not R.A. the Rugged Man, for people who are familiar. He's more into that fast style of rhyming, which it's pretty good, but it's not always like my cup of tea. Apathy doesn't really rhyme fast, like super fast. He does it at points, but I mean, just the way that he delivers reminds me a lot of R.A. the Rugged Man. And then also any of the other Stu Banga's produced projects. One of my favorites was from Mr. Liff and Stu Banga's, and it was called Vanguard. Also, I want to mention too that there's a sample of Aha's Take On Me on this record.
Yeah, it's great.
And that was super, super surprising, because it starts off like they're in the car listening to it on the radio or something. And then it actually like bleeds into the song. It's pretty amazing how it actually comes together. But yeah, this was a fantastic rap record. And Yeah, I think I'm gonna probably go back and check out some of Apathy's earlier stuff. Absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic. Like you said, it was just very smart, dark, grimy hip hop.
But also kind of funny too.
Yeah,
I gotta
and
say,
funny. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
like a couple of lyrics I really liked. He said, "I did heavy cardio today, but just one body part."
Oh yeah,
That's such a good
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Or like something like a mean buzz, like Kevin McAllister's
Oh
brother,
yes,
and
Kevin
like
McAllister. Yeah, Mean Buzz like Kevin McAllister's
yeah,
brother.
and the MK Ultra one is so funny. It's I mean not funny, but and also scary, but it's all like about recovered memories.
Yep,
And, like
yep.
the whole thing, like I said, it sounds like we're saying this would be a downer, but I found the whole thing to be actually just really rewarding and pretty fun at moments, actually.
And again, that's all rooted in like Wu-Tang Clan type stuff because like those I feel like or even like Mob Deep or something like that, those records had some really scary stuff on them, but also they were really funny at the same time. That's the thing about rap music that rap music does, I think, better than like most other genres, is that through the lyricism they sort of like get away with being funny and dark and clever and kind of dumb at the same time. It's not that's not something that's really valued in like rock music as much, I feel. And that's what I really like, especially with this style of rap music, is that it's sort of like it's super intelligent, but then it's not afraid to get kind of just like sort of like ridiculous at times.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah, that's all rooted in that. And I think artists like Tyler the Creator have 100% like carried that over into like modern times. So yeah, Apathy, King of Gods, no second. If you're into rap music, yeah, check it out 100%. And this came out last year, I think, in 2022.
Right, you're right.
Yep.
2022.
So, and also his Wikipedia says that he's a former rapper. So
snap.
I don't know if that means he retired, or I don't know what that means. I don't know what he's doing now, or what that, who knows? It's
We'll
hard
have
telling.
to do some more research, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice.
In the meantime, though, yeah, check this album out if that checks any of your boxes.
Yeah.
So my pick is from I guess you could call them a legacy artist at this point. They seem to be a I guess, liked group from a lot of people, maybe from a specific type of music listener, but it's from the band Sparks. And it's their latest album that just came out this year called The Girl Is Crying in Her Latte. Now, Sparks is an LA pop rock duo formed by brothers Ren and Russell Mayel. I think I'm saying that last name right, but they have also had over the years various other members, which I think were mostly utilized for live performance. Sparks is one of these groups that they're sort of critically acclaimed. They're like a critic's choice half the time, and they're also super influential to a lot of I guess sort of like more underground rock artists, I guess you could say. And I just heard about them like, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and I kind of went down a rabbit hole with Sparks for a little while. I have not even come close to listening to their entire output, but I decided to listen to this, and I gotta say, I am super glad that I did. So this is their 26th album. They've been around since at least 1971. That was when their first record came out. And I love this. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary, The Sparks Brothers, on Netflix, Eric.
Yeah.
So judging from that documentary, it seems there's sort of two different Sparks. I mean, I guess there's more than just two, but there's two main like sort of Sparks eras, I guess you could say. And that sort of is the more rock oriented Sparks, which was, the first handful of records from the 70s and into the 80s. And then at some point, they kind of started to become, as indicated by the documentary, a more synth oriented group. So like synth pop, but then also still keeping that rock side and still being, you know, sort of clever and funny and a little strange. And they're kind of one of these groups that you know, from the outside looking in, has kind of always had a little bit of trouble maybe appealing to like the masses, but over time has cultivated a cult following. But yeah, this record is definitely heavy on the synths for sure. The more electronic drums, but there's also still definitely a rock side to it, no doubt. It definitely is. When I listen to a Sparks record, I always get the feeling that I should understand more about what's going on in terms of like the satire and humor that's presented. But I always get the feeling that there's something clever that I'm always missing, you know, the point of, but at the same time, the song is so enjoyable that I can't stop listening. And so the songs kind of present themselves as, I don't know, like a satire of maybe the type of music that they're sort of engaging in, or maybe there's just sort of like something they're communicating to the audience. I'm assuming that a lot of this probably comes through a lot more in their live performance. Again, judging from the documentary, but I mean, the songs are just so good. I absolutely love this. Production is really great. And also, one of the things that I absolutely can say about this is it is amazing to me that a group that is this far into their career can still sound this good and also current. I do honestly believe there's at least a couple of songs that you could play on the radio next to some current pop artists, and it would not really sound out of place. And it also would not sound like two guys in their, I don't know what, 60s. It is so like the whole thing engages the listener and it just never gets boring. Like the songs are like, it's almost like watching a movie that you just can't take your eyes off of. And you're just like, okay, what's going to happen in the next scene? That's kind of what this record reminds me of, like, you know, just from an audio perspective. It's front to back, the album is just a blast to listen to. And that's really, you know, the best description I can think of, because there's definitely a lot of things that I could reference that I think this reminds me of, but I don't even think that it just straight up sounds like Sparks. Yeah. The way that Russell Mayall sings, it has this sort of glam sort of feeling to it. And also I don't know, it just sounds like he's like, there's like an inside joke, like the way that he's sort of singing. It sounds like he's almost on the cusp of like busting out in laughter or something. Maybe that's just like in my mind, but it just sounds like they're just having a blast doing this stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I can see how like Sparks could be influential to so many bands. My favorite track on here by far is Nothing Is As Good As They Say It Is, which is one of the more rock tracks on the album, almost bordering on like new wave, honestly. Like it has like almost like a Devo feel to it or something. But the entire record is just incredible. So if you're into like, you know, weirdo sort of electro synth pop, I guess, with a new wave flavor, I mean, that's definitely what this is like. But there's also like a homage to like the oldies kind of going on too, like in a weird sort of way. So the stuff that this reminds me of, number one, the Beatles. Honestly, like this reminds me of like, you know, and a lot of people might say the Beatles, like, what, they're not weird. No, they absolutely are weird. Like, especially in their like later years, the Beatles got really strange. And this reminds me of that. Beach Boys, 100% David Bowie. Like, I think Bowie's all over this. Adam and the Ants, in particular, that one album that we reviewed, that was your recommendation.
Kings of the Wild Frontier.
Yeah, this reminded me of that 100%. But also, They Might Be Giants had to have been influenced by Sparks. Ween, and especially like the way that with Ween, the sort of like inside joke aspect, like I feel like that sort of is all over like an album like The Mollusk. And I feel like Sparks probably had that down for years, and then also like even like The Residents, I can hear some of that stuff going on here. But overall, it's just a really great, at its heart, at its core, I feel like it's just a really great synth pop record. Yeah, so Sparks, The Girl Is Crying in Her Latte. Wow, 26 albums. That's it, that's phenomenal to me. Yeah, what did you think, Erik?
So let me first say that I'm really sorry to all of our listeners. I'm not a big Sparks fan. I know that I'm supposed to be, and I know that it doesn't make sense that I'm not, and I know all the reasons I'm supposed to be, and it's been explained to me multiple times by multiple people that I'm not a big fan. And I've tried. I've listened to Woofer in Tweeter's Clothing, Kimono, My House. Like, I really have tried, but I'm just not a big fan of it. And actually, you said something that I think is sort of a positive, but I think it really pinpointed what I find disagreeable. You said something like you feel like you're missing the point, or they're saying something that you feel like you're supposed to understand. And that's kind of exactly how I feel about it. I just sometimes feel like they're too clever, if that makes any sense. Like, it's theatrical and it's clever. And I will get to my review of this, I promise. I just wanted to kind of explain the position I'm coming from. So I do listen to a lot of music that is in the same realm as this. Like you said, They Might Be Giants, The Residents, I don't know, all kinds of stuff, Ween, all that stuff that I love. And I should love this too. And I'm not saying it's not good or well made or well done. It's not really about the construction or anything like that, or their abilities as songwriters. It's more just that, yeah, I feel like it's an inside joke that I'm not a part of. And therefore, it's kind of off-putting. And the same thing with Frank Zappa, who obviously I'm supposed to like as well. And I've given tons of chances. I just don't connect with it. I think it's that same feeling, like the joke's on me as the listener. And I don't really like that feeling. I like to be part of the joke, and I think most of the other sort of weirdo groups that I do like, I'm in on it. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to say all that before I start. With that being said, though, I do think this is really cool. And I think that it's a little more like synth oriented, a little more noise oriented than other Sparks that I've heard. There are a few songs that seem, sort of song based, like a traditional song, with clear melodies, kind of more like guitar oriented songs and things like that. And those are the moments that I really like what Sparks does, is when they sort of adhere to a song structure with a melody. Because a lot of times they're not. And for me, especially the first two tracks of this album felt that way. Like, not necessarily like songs, more like, I don't know, experiments in ideas or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, like I said, I like more of the proper kind of songs. The song It Doesn't Have to Be That Way is phenomenal. If I had to guess, I think it's probably about their music and their songwriting and their presentation, which is pretty meta. And like I said, it was one of the moments where I was like, whoa, I think this is somebody really saying something. And that's cool. There was also sort of a 3-song, I don't want to say a suite because I don't think it was on purpose, but songs 6 through 9, You Were Meant for Me, Not That Well Defined, and We Go Dancing, they all sort of had this almost like Middle Eastern feel to it. And I really liked when they brought that in because it sort of relieved that feeling of there's no melody here. Because a lot of times, and I'm sorry that this sounds negative, I really don't want it to. I enjoyed listening through this. But a lot of times with the melodies, their intervals are just so close that it doesn't feel like the melodies are moving very much. Never really big intervals. And so with the more Middle Eastern scales and stuff like that, that's part of it. That's built in is sort of those tighter intervals and moving between notes that are really close to each other. And so, yeah, 6 through 9, I loved. Yeah, I liked a lot of the songs though. Yeah, Nothing Is As Good As They Say It Is was great. Yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. And this is probably the most I've enjoyed a Sparks record. So that's saying something. And yeah, overall, I think if you like Sparks, you're going to love this. And like Dan said, if you like other things that are like it, you will probably like it too. I think I'm just sort of, I don't know, a curmudgeon sometimes.
I just want attention.
But yeah, things that it reminded me, or at least aspects of it. I heard like some ELO in there because this to me had a lot more string sections, like string quartet parts than other Sparks I've heard. And the layered vocals reminded me a lot of ELO as well. Brian Eno, Residents, Klaus Nomi, Devo maybe. I also realized that the singer sounds a lot like Kevin McMahon from Prick, who I love his voice. And I just kind of, which is sort of probably a Bowie connection.
Very underrated record.
Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed it quite a lot, but I was coming from a place where I didn't expect to enjoy it a lot. So in that sense, I was pleasantly surprised by it. And, you know, it's not limited to Sparks. Like I said, Frank Zappa, The Clash, there's all kinds of stuff that I just have not connected with, that everyone I know is just like, well, you're dumb and wrong, you know?
Wait,
and so
you're not a Clash fan?
Not really.
Really?
No.
I thought, I guess
I
I
like
was.
Sandinista, and I like songs here and there. But yeah, I'm not like a big fan. But everyone has that where they just have sort of blind spots in their own personal musical interests, and it's like unbelievable to other people, you know. But I think we all have that. So
absolutely.
Unfortunately for me, Sparks is one of them. So, but like I said, if you like Sparks, I think you'll love this. And for me, this is the best record that I've heard from them. So,
well, you are canceled, Eric.
I know. Yeah, I'm canceled for not liking the guy with the Hitler mustache. That sounds about right.
That's a hot take.
That's my hot take.
Hot take.
Sorry, I had to go off a little.
Maybe it's more like hot Takis.
Yeah, I love Takis.
Right.
Hot Takis.
Hot Takis. Did you know that they changed the boxes of Hot Pockets? They're now yellow instead of red.
Okay. Weird.
You know why?
No, I don't know.
The reason why McDonald's has so much yellow is because yellow is supposed to be the color that makes people the hungriest.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. So for our local review,
Keep it local.
we're going to talk about a record by a group called the Night Lights. It's self-titled, came out this year. Yeah, so this is a project from the singers of the Diplomats of Solid Sound, who sometimes go by the Diplomats. That's Sarah Cram, Catherine Rusto, and Abby Sawyer. They're also involved respectively in lots of other projects too, the Awful Purdies, Abby and the Sawyers, numerous groups, very active musicians in the community. Yeah, and you can tell that they sing together a lot. It's overall, this record is straightforward yet really flawless presentation of sort of like, I don't know, a really eclectic mix of Americana styles. But yeah, it goes all over the place. It goes standard kind of bluegrass, more like, I don't even know, like mellower country styles, just very Americana in nature, and lots of different ideas. Yeah, amazing harmonies. Like I said, you can tell that they sing together a lot. There's no question that they're tuned in to each other. Amazing harmonies, super tight. I mean, that's an understatement to even say tight. It's like almost like sibling level harmonies, like the Everly Brothers or something. The singing is like just so perfect and in sync that it sounds effortless to me, which obviously it's not. And I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it sounds really pure and just like it just flows out of them together as a unit. I really like the subtle nature of the songs. Like there are a few songs that are really kind of upbeat, but for the most part, it's more just like just living in this really pretty kind of calming area. The arrangements are really cool. They're like really like beautifully sparse. Generally, most of the tracks have like a bass, which I'm assuming is an upright bass. It has that tone anyway, and a guitar and the vocals. Sometimes there'll be some slight percussion like tambourine or things like that. I think there may even be a drum set on a few things. Not sure. But yeah, for the most part, it's just really sparse and subtle. That's not to say it doesn't have energy, because it definitely has a lot of energy and a lot of, well, I'll get into that in a second. But so all the singers take leads kind of throughout the record. So all three of them, I think, take leads throughout. So you sort of get a different feel from song to song. Who's singing lead and who's singing backup singing. It makes a pretty big difference. I'm not sure if it was determined by who wrote the song, or if it was decided whose voice would carry the song the best, or show off the song the best. But everyone gets to shine, and it's really cool. It's upbeat and it's smart and it's empowering and it's like supportive. I feel like it's a good representation of like the idea of make the music you want to hear. Like there's a lot of really, like I said, uplifting and empowering songs, and it feels almost like self-soothing. It's almost like, I'm going to make this song because other people need to feel supported in their lives, and I want to provide that for them, And I think that's really cool. My favorite songs, I really liked Go Easy on Me, Baby. I thought that was a cool song. And I really like the acapella closer, Just Breathe. One of my favorite parts of the album is in the song Intertwiners, which I think was the single for this record. There's just this moment where they add like an extra beat. And I think it's Sarah Cram singing, and she says, well, kind of. And it's really effective and really cool. It kind of reminded me of a similar moment in a Dwight Yoakam song. But yeah, it's phenomenally presented and made. And yeah, I think it's pretty well flawless. The things that reminded me of, I don't know. You can kind of go down the line, like Gillian Welsh, Lucinda Williams, Roseanne Cash, Alison Krauss, Dolly Parton. Some things like maybe like the Roaches, especially with the harmonies. Some approaches to songwriting like Jenny Lewis. Like it's not all like old timey Americana stuff. That's not even necessarily a specific element of this. It's more just like it encompasses the ideas of that music. So I would say, yeah, if you like the Awful Purdies, if you like the Diplomats of Solid Sound, if you like maybe some of the stuff on Oh Brother We're Out There soundtrack, just old, not necessarily old school country, but even like 70s, 80s country too. I mean, it has all those elements in it. I would like to hear more from them. And yeah, I thought it was great. What'd you think, Dan?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. This style of music is something that when I find myself actually listening to it, I realize that I enjoy it way more than I give give it credit. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I don't sit down and listen to Americana, or I guess in this case you could kind of call it sort of soft country / folk, whatever label it is. I realize how amazing this stuff actually is.
Mhm.
The first thing that really caught me is as you mentioned, Eric, the harmonizing between the singers. It touches on just being almost like majestic sounding. It's just absolutely incredible the way that it's done. The guitar is, I mean, honestly, some of the best picking on an acoustic guitar that I've heard. The percussion is fantastic when it's there. Definitely has some twang to it, a little bit of swing to it, an element of country, and an element of like, I don't know, the term that I would maybe use is maybe a little bit of soft rock. Although I hate that term. I can't think of anything else to really say. Like you said, Eric, soft country too. Yeah, it's very much the type of music, and I don't mean this at all as an insult. In fact, quite the contrary, because sometimes you just need music that you can relax to. So, like, this is something that I would probably put on if I was like, I don't know, enjoying a cup of coffee, like, outside on the deck, or just like watching. I don't know. It gives me the feeling, this is going to sound kind of dumb, but like, as far as like the image that this puts me in mind of is like just sitting on a deck in the country and watching like fireflies or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just, I don't know. It gives me that sort of feeling. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's intentional but I don't know. I couldn't imagine that they would write this kind of album and not, sort of think, okay, this could definitely put somebody in that sort of state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
The songwriting is absolutely incredible. It does have, like you mentioned, Eric, an old-timey feel, but like you also mentioned, that's not what it is completely, because I feel like a lot of times old-timey music, whether it's bluegrass or whether it's folk or Americana, a lot of times, whether or not this is something that I'm just being, ignorant to or not, a lot of times has like that sort of feeling of like novelty attached to it. And that's probably not how I should feel about it, because I really do love a lot of bluegrass, and a lot of like old timey music, as I guess I'm going to put it. This doesn't feel like that at all. This, as you mentioned, Eric, and honestly, like I'm just pretty much agreeing with almost everything that you said about it in my review. It's very organic and real sounding. It sounds like it's coming from a place of like, this is honestly the type of music that they wanted to make. It feels very organic. Nothing about this feels contrived or fake, or it doesn't sound like they said, let's make a type of music in this style so that we can cash in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, it's probably not right for me to have those feelings about that type of music anyway. It's just, that's, I guess that's my point of view about it. But this feels 100% organic and real. And that's what I like about it more than anything. My favorite track, hands down, was Until I Fall Asleep. I thought
for sure.
that was such an amazing, I would almost feel like it was sort of a departure from the rest of the record, in that it really became like there were a lot of instruments that kind of just came through on that. And it kind of got, not to say that I don't feel like this was necessarily the most upbeat record. Like I said, it kind of has like a relaxing feel, but I feel like that's sort of where it got. Like you mentioned how there is energy to this record, and I feel like that was maybe the best representation of energy on this record. It was absolutely fantastic. I would, there's so many people that I would recommend this to as well, that I feel like I could recommend like this record to, and not probably 90% of what we review on this show. You know what I mean?
For sure.
For example, I think that this act would actually go really well with like Monica Austin,
Yeah.
for instance.
I thought so too.
You know, because honestly, some of the voices reminded me of Monica's voice a little bit. And there is sort of an element of what Monica is doing in this as well. As far as like the other things that this reminded me of, Casey Musgraves, Amanda Shires, Jason Isbell, Drive By Truckers, definitely Dolly Parton and Patsy Cline. Those were like, I mean, and I love Dolly Parton and Patsy Cline. Those are like genuinely two of my favorite singers of all time. Like Patsy Cline, maybe even more than Dolly Parton for me. Patsy Cline, I love. Margot Price, a little bit. And then, it's funny because you mentioned Dwight Yoakam. I actually put Dwight Yoakam, believe it or not. And I love Dwight Yoakam too. I think he's one of the most underrated country singers of all time, strangely enough. But yeah, this was really good. I really liked it. And yes, it's way more straightforward, but you know, sometimes we review more straightforward stuff. And that's because guess what? Straightforward music can be good as well.
Yeah. Believe it or not.
Believe it or not, it can be really good. And so, we went from dark, grimy hip hop to, I don't know, glammy, arty electro synth pop.
Sure.
To what Americana folk in one sitting. So
there you go.
So that's our batch, man. That's our batch. And I just finished my coffee too.
Oh, dang. Yeah, I finished mine too. Now, what are we going to do now?
We should do an episode on coffee.
Okay.
Well, I
mean, you mean about coffee? Yeah, I was like, I'm on coffee.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're on coffee right now. Now, when you drink coffee, do you put cream and sugar in it, or do you just drink it black?
Black as midnight on a moonless night. That's what Cooper says, Agent Cooper.
Oh, yes, Agent Cooper.
Hey, did you know, speaking of Agent Cooper, I'm going to Twin Peaks next week?
The like actual, like the town, you mean?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Are you going to get a piece of...
Yeah, we are. Yeah, piece of pie.
You're seriously going to go there and get a piece of pie and coffee?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, because we're going to a national park called Olympic National Park. It's like by Portland, basically. And so we're going to go there too, because it's fairly close.
Hey, can you do me are you going to go to Portland?
Yeah, we'll be in Portland.
Okay, can you do me a favor? Can you, if I give you the money,
a package taken there?
Well, if yes, and you're gonna have to wear sunglasses, suit and tie,
to the free air drug market.
No, what I was wondering is if you could do me a favor while you're in Portland.
Okay, I'll try.
All right, I'll pay you back, but you're gonna have to pay for it. Okay.
Sure.
So can you purchase? There's a comic book store called Floating World Comics. Okay. Now it is a really big supplier of like independent comics, and I was wondering if you could go in there and buy everything in the store up, and then I don't know, just deliver it to my house, and then I'll pay you back when I get the money. Would that be okay?
Sure, that sounds great. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, I just had to check my check with my bank.
Okay, all right. And like I said, I'll pay you back when I get the money. I don't know when that's going to be, but you know, it'll be 5 years or something. Anyway, soon.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if I'm around there, I'll pop in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. You know, you're not into comics as much as I am. I know, but
I've always wanted to be. It's one of those things. It's kind of like Sparks. I know I should get into it. I have friends that are into it. I like things like it, and I even like aspects of it. But I just can't. I can't get into it. I've always wanted to be into comics. I've always wanted to play D&D. Yeah. I've always wanted to be geekier than I am.
That's
I know
something
that sounds stupid, but
that's something I've never wanted to learn how to play D&D,
Mhm.
but I've always wanted to learn how to play Magic the Gathering.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I played the vampire one once. I think
Which
it's called
one
the
is that?
Masquerade or something.
Masquerade.
maybe.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that. I
But
know
then
there was
then I got drunk and I was not, and then I was like goofing off, and then they were like, this is serious, dude."
yeah, I
And
tried
so
to
I didn't come back.
I tried to play Magic the Gathering once, and I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, you put this card here, you put this card here, you put this card here, and you just slayed a werewolf.
Nice.
Put this card here, you put this card here, and then all right, you're running around invisible with a cape on. I don't even know what
Yeah.
it was weird. I was just like, I don't understand how any of this works, but
Yeah.
I like the cards.
Yeah.
The cards are really cool, the artwork and everything.
Right.
So
I
yeah,
just- I don't know.
I feel your pain. I've always wanted, just like I've always wanted to I don't know, like I've always wanted to be a good songwriter and singer. I've always wanted to actually be able to do that, but I've always wanted to be cooler than I actually am. So
Yeah.
you've always wanted to be geekier, Eric, and I've always wanted to be cooler.
Yeah, it's tough to be so cool.
I can imagine, Eric. I can
Yeah.
imagine.
It's a burden. It's a weight I have to carry around at all times. I'm just like, should I say this? Should I do this? Like, I don't want to ruin my rep. I don't want people to think I'm not cool.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got a reputation to uphold.
You're only 15. You don't have a rep yet.
You're only 15. What isn't there like a song that it's Roots Radicals by Rancid? Where do you go now when you're only 15 and the music evolution?
Oh. Well,
Yeah.
see, like I was saying, I it sucks to be cool. I had to quote DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Smith,
Yeah.
and then you get to quote the actual cool band.
I like it when it's like when they're like going through like, McDonald's, like I ordered 2 Big Macs and 2 large fries. Oh, and those Big Macs and large fries look so delicious through the TV screen. I remember that. Anyway,
Oof. All right. Well,
yeah, I think today was a good episode, man. I think today was a great episode.
yeah, in spite of us.
In spite of us.
Like,
Thank you.
The music we reviewed was pretty great.
Yes, that was
what we did was questionable at best.
Isn't that how it always works though, Eric?
Kinda, yeah.
Mhm.
I guess that's why folks keep tuning in. I mean, as far as
Yep.
we can guess,
Yeah,
because we never hear from any of you.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
If
Even
you
though
do
you
want to talk to us, you can get to us on Instagram, and I probably will make a Facebook page. I don't know. I don't feel like Facebook really matters. Who cares?
yeah, who cares?
But
Yeah, no,
if you guys want to see us on another platform, I'm willing to try. I mean,
yeah,
what is there? Twitter, TikTok?
There's-
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, who knows? It's hard telling.
I'll
The
tell you
internet
what.
is.
One of you listeners send me a message to say start a Twitter. I'll do it.
I mean, you've downloaded us 17,000 sometimes.
Yeah. I think people like to listen to us, but they don't really like us. So they don't want to interact with us. They're like, it's okay when they're like removed and it's just like
yeah.
some dudes talking on my radio or whatever, but to actually interact, I think they're kind of
Hey, did you know that Dan and Erik from Accelerativ Thrust are coming tonight? Oh,
better cancel the show. They're just going to set in judgment and explain for 20 minutes why they're just not that into Sparks.
Yeah, I heard one of them's not really into Sparks.
Yeah, it's true. We're the worst.
Well, contact us on Instagram in the meantime.
Yeah.
Listen to us on all the streaming platforms, and thank you for listening, and bye.
Bye.
I ordered 2 Big Macs and 2 large fries.